Hello, everyone. Today we're going to learn about visualizing. Visualizing is a reading strategy, something that's going to help you become a better reader and understand what you read. Visualizing is making a picture in your mind. So, how do you visualize? Well, you use the words in your text to make a picture in your mind. It's like seeing a movie in your mind. So let's try this one. If I say the words, a green tractor, immediately something pops into your head. You have just visualized something. Is this what you visualized? This is what I thought of. But you may have thought of something different because your mental image might be different from my mental image. So you use what you already know about green and tractors to come up with that image in your head. So maybe you pictured a tiny little toy of a green tractor because you had one when you were little. Maybe you pictured a cartoon tractor, like one that you might see in the movie Cars, because maybe that was your favorite movie or is your favorite movie. So we use what we already know to help us visualize what we're reading. So my mental image, what I see in my head, might be different from what you see in your head. And that's okay because we've had different experiences in our lives and we visualize differently. So let's try this one. Picture this. The purple flowers bloomed, lifting their petals up to the sun. They were surrounded by the bright green lily pads that covered the surface of the pond. As I was reading this, you should have been creating an image in your mind. I imagine everybody pictured purple flowers. We know the color purple, we know what flowers are, and we know what it means to lift up toward the sun. But then we get to this part that says they're surrounded by bright green lily pads. Some of us might not know what lily pads are. We might have trouble visualizing that part. I know what lily pads are because I've seen them before. But if you didn't, maybe that part of your visualization was blank. That's okay. We might have to find out what those are. So my visualization looked like this. What did yours look like? Did you know what lily pads were? Or was that part of your visualization blank? Let's try another one. Picture this. A grassy path led into a garden of tall grasses, black-eyed Susans, and purple coneflowers. Wow, this one's even trickier. So a grassy path led into a garden of tall grasses. Well, that part's easy. Tall grass, path. I can picture that in my head easily. But I'm not sure if I know what black-eyed Susans are or purple coneflowers. I'm kind of guessing that they're probably kinds of flowers, but I'm not exactly sure. I have an idea in my head of what I think they look like. Here's what I pictured. Black-eyed Susans, purple coneflowers in the back, and there's that path that leads into the grassy field. So whatever you pictured, it's not wrong, as long as it went with the words, a grassy path led into a garden of tall grasses, black-eyed Susans, and purple coneflowers. If yours didn't look like this, that's okay. It just needed to match these words. So this one gets a little trickier. Take a look at this. The sleek, modern museum rose at the end of the parking lot. A tower that looked just like an airport control tower glistened in the center. To the right curved a silver round building. A tree was to the left. Wow, this one has so much detail. I definitely need to go back and read this again. But each of those things, as I added another thing to my description, I was forming this picture in my mind. So a sleek modern museum rose at the end of a parking lot. So I'm picturing the parking lot, and then there's some kind of large building. I've seen museums before, so I'm kind of picturing the museums that I've seen before. And then there's a tower right in the middle. To the right is another building. To the left is a tree. I'm trying to picture this in my head, but that's a lot of detail. This is the kind of description that I might need to kind of write down or draw a little map so that I can organize it in my brain. That's a whole lot for me to try to picture. Here's kind of what I was imagining. So there's the parking lot. The building is in the back. There's a tower in the middle. And then to the right, you see that round building, and to the left is a tree. If yours didn't look like this, that's okay, as long as it had all of those things in it. So what is the right picture? Well, because everybody has different experiences, and my museum might not look like your museum, you're going to visualize things differently. But the one thing you have to remember is that you need to make sure that you're using the clues from the text to visualize. So whatever it tells me in the text, that's what I need to be seeing in my head, or that's what I need to be drawing in a picture that I'm drawing as I write or as I read. So as long as what you see matches the text details, it works. So look at this. This picture would not match the details of the paragraph at all. First of all, there's no parking lot. Second, that doesn't really look like a museum. And then third, I don't even see a tower. There are trees, but I don't really see a tree to the left, more behind this house. So even though this is kind of a cool picture, it doesn't match the text at all. So this visualization is wrong. If I had said that this is what I imagined, then I am not understanding what I'm reading very well. And I need to go back and reread. Sometimes you need to go back and reread 2, 3, 4 times before you can really picture what it looks like in your head. And sometimes there's just too much detail and you need to write it down or draw a picture. So why do we do this? What's the point of visualizing? Well, it helps you process the text more actively. So in other words, instead of just sitting there reading the words, you are getting involved with what you're reading. You're seeing it in your brain. Because we have to use our prior knowledge or what we already know to visualize, we're reading more carefully. And reading carefully means understanding. Again, sometimes reading carefully means going back and rereading 2 or 3 or 4 times until we understand. If you can't find that picture in your head, that means that you need to go back and reread. And also, it helps you figure out what's going on in the story. Again, if you can't picture it in your head, then you're not really understanding and you need to go back and reread. Visualizing is fun. It's one of the things I love the most about reading. It's why I don't like going to see a movie that was based on a book, because it ruins the pictures that were in my head. The people don't look the way I thought they would. The scene doesn't look the way I thought it would. Visualizing is fun. So let's try this one. And this one I want you to try sketching out. So you're actually going to use that page in your notebook and you're going to sketch this one out. So picture this. Try sketching what you visualize based on this dialogue. What a day for a class trip, Ricky said. I know, I can't wait to get back in the boats and go canoeing some more, Anna replied. Yeah, I just wish it weren't so cold, Ricky sighed. So before we keep going, push stop on this video, and I want you to draw a sketch. So sketch and stretch. Remember, do a little sketch of what you think this looks like. It's going to stretch your understanding. It's going to stretch what you're thinking about. It's going to help you comprehend what you're reading. So right now, do a little sketch in your notebook about what you visualize when you read this. Go back and reread 2, 3, 4 times, as many times as you need to. Once you're done with your sketch, push play and move on to the last part of this video. So what did you visualize? Based on what you know, your prior knowledge, and what it said in the text, do you have these things in your picture? A canoe, a lake, a forest? Did you draw students? So what have we learned? We've learned that visualizing is an important reading strategy. We need to use the author's clues and our own knowledge to build a picture in our minds. And everyone's mental images are different. Congratulations. You just learned what visualizing is. Now make sure you're doing that when you're reading.